Let's take a look at the attacks carried out by Israeli forces on schools just this month. On August the 1st, the Dalal al-Maghrabi public school in eastern Gaza City was bombed, killing at least 15 Palestinians. 3 days later, at least 17 Palestinians, including children and women, were killed in an attack on Al-Hamna school and Al-Huda school. Both sheltered displaced people in the Sheikh Radwan neighbourhood west of Gaza City. 30 people were killed on August the 4th after Israeli warplanes bombed Al-Nasser and Hassan Salameh schools in the Al-Nasser neighbourhood. And then on August the 8th, Israeli planes bombed the Abdel Fattah Hamouda and Zahara schools in the east of Gaza City, which housed thousands of displaced people. So 17 civilians there were killed. Well, the Qatari Foreign Ministry has released a statement saying that we strongly condemn the Israeli occupation's bombing of a school in the Gaza Strip. We demand an international investigation that includes sending a UN team to investigate the occupation's targeting of schools. We call on the international community to protect the displaced and prevent the occupation from implementing its plans to forcibly displace them. Let's bring in Hassan Barari. He's a professor of international affairs at Qatar University. Today he's with us live from Amman. Mr. Barari, good to have you with us. Exasperated, I think, is what most analysts are by this ongoing targeting of either UN facilities or UN schools or something that is UN in Gaza, where Palestinians are sheltering or looking for safe haven. There just isn't anywhere.
Yeah, this is part of the dominicide that Israel has been committing against the Palestinians. They've been targeting hospitals and now schools, back-to-back targeting of schools. And this is a reflection of an Israeli mindset that wants to make Gaza a really hard place to live in. And this is also part of the pressure to put on Hamas in order to give in any future talks. But at the same time, if we put this in a wider context, it reflects that Israel has been acting in bad faith when it comes to the talks that would be held probably in next Thursday. And we have seen this movie before. So every time there was a talk about peace talks and about truce, the Israelis would do something to undermine the effort. And I think this is clear this time that Netanyahu is trying to pre-empt the talks on next Thursday.
What do you make of the lack of international condemnation when it comes to attacks like this? It's not the first time that we're seeing this. In 10 months, we've seen, hundreds, if not thousands of attacks like this. But, when you have one that's as large as up to 100 and maybe a lot more, because that death toll will rise with those that have managed to reach hospital but perhaps won't survive, it does make you wonder where the leaders of the world are in trying to rein in the attacks that civilians are experiencing in the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, Suhail, you're right. The indifference on the part of the international community and the inaction, these reflect one basic reality, that everybody else in the world is looking at the United States to do something, to step in and make the difference. But we know that the United States won't do this for domestic reason and for also their alliance with Israel. So they don't see the Palestinians as the humans. They talk about numbers of people who were killed and injured, but at the same time, if we just see the things from different perspective, if this happened in Europe, then the Americans would be up in arms, condemning and doing something. But when it comes to the Palestinians, I think they adopt the Israeli narrative in terms of the way they paint the Palestinians as a terrorist group and then should be dismantled from Gaza. So as long as the Americans adopt this position and this perspective, we can see the international community do anything independently, and that's why indifference would continue for time to come.
Some might observe these ongoing negotiations as a bit of a political dance, really. Time and time again, we keep hearing there's a renewed push for a ceasefire, there are new talks going on, and yet just as we also hear that the negotiating parties and the stakeholders are just about to sign on the dotted line, Israel carries out another devastating attack that inevitably kills that conversation. It's a tactic, isn't it?
It is. And every time we we argued that we are closer than ever to reaching a deal. The Israeli would come up with an atrocity that makes things difficult. And we know now for sure that Netanyahu is not really a genuine partner to any truce or any peace talks. He's using this in order to appease the opposition internally, especially the families of the hostages. He wants to be seen as if he's doing something or as the prisoner and hostages are a priority for him, when we know they are not. But at the same time, he plays into the hand of the ultra-national right-wing component of his government, and without them, he can't really hold into power. And he listens to them by perpetuating the conflict, by committing atrocities in order to make sure that any negotiations would fail.
Hassan Barari, it's always good to speak to you. Thanks so much for joining us from Amman in Jordan.